Well, hello, everybody. I hope you are doing amazing on this Tuesday, Giving Tuesday. So I'm excited to be here today, excited about our conversation. We have Stefan who is going to be joining us this evening, talking about a near death experience and how that has led to a new life. So before we get into all that great conversation, I do want to remind everybody that it is Giving Tuesday. This is the day when we think about nonprofits or charity organizations that we can just donate even our time or resources to in order to make this world a better place. It's the holidays, and a lot of people are struggling with a lot of different things. And we can do a small thing, making a donation, volunteering for some organizations that could really use our help. One of the organizations that I'm passionate about is PanCan. And PanCan is an organization that works to raise awareness about pancreatic cancer. I have a very close friend. She and I got connected through Clubhouse. We started a club, and 6 months into the club, I learned that she was a pancreatic cancer survivor. 5 years ago, she was given a 9% chance to live, and she is still alive to tell her story. She's cancer free, and she was a part of a clinical trial, a Whipple procedure. And so now we have a walk every year in her area in Richmond, Virginia, and we are currently raising funds to help with that organization for pancreatic cancer. So I'll be putting the link in the comments later, but really excited to be here today with my co-host Anita. But before we get started, we're going to introduce ourselves. So I'm Lachelle, also known as America's Supermom, mother of 15 children, and I am a media strategist. I'm passionate about helping people monetize their message and create a global impact in the world through different forms of media. So I'm excited to get into this conversation about, near death and a new life. It just really intrigues me, and I'm looking forward to learning more from Stefan. But I'm going to yield the mic to you, Anita. Hey, happy Tuesday.
Hey, happy Giving Tuesday. I know I got a little echo. I'm in a building that I didn't know I was going to be here still, but I wanted to be able to jump on and at least say hello to everyone and just be a part of what we're doing here. So my name is Anita Newson, also known as Anita and the Biz Coach, and I'm passionate about helping nonprofits and businesses to find their voice and be able to expand on their mission. Because one of the things I love to do is help educate them on the grant readiness process and other funding strategies. Lachelle and I are both TV producers, so that's another thing I added to my plate this year, as well as a business coach and a business consultant. So I'm excited to be here. Can't wait. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to meet Stefan before I have to jump off. But I'm so happy to be here and thankful to be able to represent and support nonprofits, like you said, because it's so very important to give back. I'm actually a board member on a nonprofit, and it's called Veterans Support Network. And because I'm a
Mhm.
U.S. Army veteran, it was very near and dear to my heart to be able to join the mission and what they're doing. So hopefully everybody took advantage today to support their most favorite charity. Okay, so just happy to be here, Michelle. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you're here too. And echoes, low mic, high mic, whatever, things happen. So that's just a part of real life, right? So we just got to roll with it. So I'm excited to have Stefan join us. So I'm going to have him come and join us now. Um, we are so excited to have you, Stefan. So we're going to start off with yielding the mic to you for an introduction to let everybody know a little bit about who you are.
All right. Lachelle and Anita, good evening or good afternoon. And my name's Stephen. I'm here from Vancouver, Canada on the West Coast. I thank you ladies very much for being here. And a bit about me, well, I'm as a blueprint numerologist and as a gifted healer, and I tap in with my soul, and I've earned a lot of trust over the years working with the universe. My gift is assisting others through remote healing and assisting with doing the 3D type emotional entanglement, soul agreement type releases. So we're no longer in this third dimension, we're in the 5D. And I think Lachelle, what you're mentioning there is I wound up having several near-death experiences from a younger age, and I learned a few lessons with this.
I love that, because we have a lot of turmoil going on, post pandemic, where a lot of people are being challenged with their mental wellness.
Mm.
We hear so much about people really struggling, to be able to talk to people or handle their emotions, whether it be grief or, certain things that are going on with relationships, their home environment changing. You go from maybe living on your own to moving back in with family, to coexist in order to help with finances and things of that nature. So um, when you think about near death, I think a lot of people kind of struggle with that. It's something that we don't really talk about a lot. So take us back to where that first occurred and how it got you to where you are today, to where you're helping people with that. Because I know I've experienced something with going through 13 years of depression. And that experience has really made me passionate about, I've overcome it, but I still want to go help other people, but some
Okay.
people, just overcoming it is enough. So what is it that, what
Wow.
happened and how did it get you to want to go back to help other people?
I'm assisting others right now because the universe gave me a second chance about 13 years ago.
Mm,
So I was given another go around in this physical realm, and I've learned that we're not as a human being. I'm going to ask people to keep their minds open and being
mhm,
open-minded. That none of us are here on a picnic, despite the race, the creed, the culture, the background. We're not as a human being, but as a human soul. And every one of us, we've volunteered on behalf of the soul coming from the universe to show up here in this physical realm here when we splash in here. And we're coming here to fulfill a few things. And we're here to do some shadow work.
mm,
So I want to emphasize none of us are here on a picnic. And I want to start this on a very positive note because we're every one of us, we have gifts, we have talents, we have insights on the inside. And unfortunately, the way the system is set up, a lot of it was put under a lock and key.
mm,
This is coming from me. I was a guy that I expressed, but I didn't say much for almost 20 years growing up. I would get out there and engage and talking with people, but at one point I had to really overcome it. And I masked this very, very well at one point as a commercial pilot, where on the outside, as the facade, it looks really good. It was deemed as being a success. But what people didn't see underneath it was uh, a lot of it was masked from the experiences growing up. I think we all, every one of us, when we show up here in this physical realm here, we all have that thing called an emotional experience. And there's no deviating from this. This is part of the soul contract. So I was going to take a step back here that prior to every one of us showing up here, it doesn't matter what country, nationality, ethnicity, we all volunteered and agreed with showing up here within this physical life. So whether you like the parents, whether you dislike the parents or the environment, whatever's going on, it was well chosen at one point for every one of us to grow and learn from. And now this new energy that we're living in is to uplift and uplevel each other and ourselves and start unplugging all the past experiences because we're as an emotional being here.
Mm. I love that. You know, the point that you brought up, I think it took me my own journey of depression to realize that life is not a picnic. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of the struggle and turmoil that we endure is because we're looking for it to be a picnic and we're beating ourselves up or beating up other people because
Yes.
that's not the reality, you know?
So I got into this not by fluke or by chance. And I like to express, I'm very, very much of the shell that I got into this from working my tail off. Nothing was given to me on a silver or a golden spoon or a golden platter. I worked for it for a number of years. And I wanted to pursuing a career as a commercial pilot. Initially, I thought of it as some excitement, some thrill to it, but a bit of a background story to it. My parents immigrated from Germany and from Holland, and they both came here with a larger size sole contract. This is behind the scene what people don't see in every one of us. We all have a thing called a sole contract. Now, in the simplistic terms of it, when people get stuck or when they have a certain stuckness, I mean, if they have a relationship where they want having kids, that information genetically gets passed on to the kids. So when I wound up showing up here into the situation, I volunteered from the other side, showing up here like we all do. And unfortunately, when people get stuck here, you can't blame them because they can only do things to the best of their ability with what they're given with. You can't beat somebody up if they're not aware of the rules of the game. And I'm going to emphasize here very, very smartly, wisely, and with some life lessons here that when you're playing a game, make sure you have a clear understanding what the rules are. And this was fundamental because I didn't have this type of awareness. So if we're going out in life for every one of us, we're all coming here to learn and to grow. But you have to have some sort of a foundation with this. And it's not like going to high school or having a family or we're living here in this realm. So you got to do a few things here. So I started with working on the farm, and then from there I worked my way up and did an apprenticeship for a number of years. And I kept following that goal, and I had 5 near-death experiences pursuing my career as a commercial pilot. And at one point, it came at a colossal cost where I said, I've done things to the best of my ability. However, this is no longer working for me.
Mm.
The right leadership wasn't there growing up. Mm-hmm. Dealing with relationships was a tough one. And if you're not able to, at the time, I had a really tough time with expressing or getting the message out there. This is essential. And these are what I call the basic foundation blocks. There's no leadership. The person's going to be in the back seat for the rest of their life. Mm. The person cannot handle themselves, or they cannot handle other people or other relationships. The relationship in this physical realm is everything. Who you connect with and having a good and a clear understanding of who a person is themselves before even considering being with somebody else. And the other one that I've learned there is the way that we express. I love the way you introduced the call there. Learn to ask. Mm-hmm. Gotta learn. Gotta learn, man. Yeah. I share this on a very, very simplistic level because I remember years ago, I was in several rooms and there's people looking around going, man, this person's very wealthy. This person's nailed it out of the park. This person's doing well. I think, like you were saying, that we're all aiming to achieve that high level. Mm-hmm. But what I learned is you got to deal with what we have in front of us. And you got to be able to master the basics. It's mastering the basics. And I mastered by just overworking. That's what got me into those several experiences. And it came from a good heart, but at what cost? And then when I left my body, I remember I was in it and out of it. And all of a sudden I went through beyond this veil, and it wasn't upset me. I was choked. I was like, I've done all this work. I have worked my tail off. I've gone above and beyond my means. It was the financial aspect of it that was the killer of it, because I had no foundation on any of it. It wasn't like attaining my first $100 in a business sale or $1,000. It was well over $100,000, and I just I had no freaking clue. So after that, I stepped back from it. I said, up with this, and that included the family, the cultural norms from Germany, from Holland, the high standards, all that went out the window. The societal pressure, all of it went out the window. And I had an experience where when I went to the other side, it came through intuitively that if I don't deal with this physical lifetime properly, I'm going to leave here empty-handed. That was a common theme in my life, and then I'd be coming right back here doing the same crap all over again. So this is I apologize. I'm starting perhaps the call here on a very sober, but on a very, very clean note, and I think it's a very concise note that I was lucky enough where I paid attention to it, and I'd encourage anyone listen to that inside voice, because we do live in a universe, and where is a human soul, so that we have to learn things. If you're not willing to learn, if you're not willing to grow, and you can't complain about it. You cannot be happy and right at the same time. So what I learned is there is a massive amount of personal responsibility and personal ownership. And without any judgment, without any blame with this, I had to start re-educating myself in a proper way. And it's the women out there that need to be really up-leveling, because the women run this place now. It's the women that are the integrity. They are the fabric of society. And without you women, the whole thing would crumble here. The women out there, and I love what you're saying there. A voice of change.
You've brought up a lot of good points. I mean, from understanding, that it's not about sometimes even how we started, whether it's our parents, our relationships, that element of having to take that personal accountability. But the question that I have, and I definitely resonate with the message of being able to listen to your own voice. So, with my journey of going through the depression, I really didn't know who I was, because I was so busy trying to be all things to all people that I just didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing for myself. So for people that are kind of in that space, what advice do you give them about being able to listen to their voice? What are some steps that they can take based on your experience that can help them kind of get more in tune with themselves?
I'd say the first step is a person's got to be real within themselves, and when they're looking in the mirror, that's the person they have to confront. That was the person I had to confront. I couldn't go somewhere else. I wound up going to the church for a while. That was a lost cause. I'll add to that in just a moment. At one point, I took a step back. When I got involved with the healing work, and I was very, very lucky I met the right person with this. I took not only a step back, but I took a full step back, and I quit my career at the time, 2 years as a commercial pilot, and the other doors at the time were opening up. I walked away from everything. I walked away from the six-figure job that was supporting the other part of it. I walked away from everything, and I spent the time with the universe. So that was my initial introduction. I took some severe and drastic actions with things. When I'd gone to the point with my fifth near-death experience, I'm like, if I push this, I don't want to come back here. And that was very, very sobering, because the message that came through here is if I don't deal with this and handle my physicality, if I don't like things, there's a choice. Everything has there's a choice, and then there's, I call the two sides of the menu. Do I like the negative side, or like the positive side? And I had to get real with it. If I was given 2 or 3 options, I wrote everything down, not what was in my head, but I put everything onto paper as much as I could there. I'd say, universe, of the 3 of them, and you got to start using some logic with this, which one's a little less shittier than the other, and say thank you for it, and then start working on it, and step by step start checking off what needs to get done. Unfortunately, there's no magic pill. There's no magic wand with this. There's that massive thing, I think none of us like it, is personal accountability, personal responsibility, and full ownership, despite whatever's going on. Even if a person's in one hell of a mess, if they're in the frying pan, if they're screaming about it, or if they don't see a way out, there is a way out. Because part of that is forcing a person, you have to make a new choice or a better decision. So that was my initial understanding of it. I got introduced to the thing called a soul blueprint. And the soul blueprint in this physical realm here, we all feel things. We're all a human being. So when we feel the feelings of joy, love, happiness, eating our favorite ice cream, having a nice sandwich, or enjoying a nice Americano or a cup of tea, there's a certain positive feeling there. It's on the same thing when we're on our own, and when we feel things and when it doesn't feel right, that's as an indicator. So when I got introduced to the soul blueprint, it was to identify the negative feeling of it and simply having the awareness of it. And where is it from my childhood that I felt stuck with? The moment I had that awareness, then I could start doing something about it. From that stuckness, I had to make a choice. Do I want to hold on to it, or do I want to drop it and be the change to do something else? Mm-hmm. Everything starts initially with up here. Like I said, I was a bit of a different case with this. And I took all kinds of risks in my life. I took one risk after another because of the experiences growing up. I asked myself, like, deep down inside, I don't want to end up there. And for the younger generation, look at the people that are in the same area that are 40 or 50 years old or 60 or older, and ask yourself, when I'm at that age, do I want to be in their shoes? Or do I want to change my view here and start looking somewhere else and looking up and aiming higher? Because aiming low, any fool can do that. It takes no brains, no guts, no glory. Anyone can do that. But to aim high and maintain it despite the setbacks, the rejection, the no's, and to keep moving. That's what's going to be. That's going to be one of the major steps of that. And it takes a lot of guts, determination, and willpower. And the women have this. The men as well. What I've learned with this is the women that really can fortify and hold on to things on a different level. And we all have different strengths, traits, and attributes. No one's better than somebody else. It's what we're gifted with. We have to make the most of it.
Yeah, that really is good. The thing that stands out for me that was a game changer was the idea that I had a choice. For so long, I was just going through things on autopilot. It was like, well, this is how it always is. I didn't even think that I could do something different. So that really was a profound thing that you said. And the whole idea of writing things down. What I learned that when I wrote things down, I could be an observer of my behavior or my thoughts or my attitude, so it's powerful to write things down because you're able to disengage on some things that aren't serving you and you could see it clearly on paper. So I love that you brought that up. So tell us now, when you're thinking about having a blueprint and, because I think life it doesn't come with a manual, whether you're a mom or a dad or, sometimes you're in different careers, it just doesn't have a manual to where you can just say, okay, this is just how it's going to work out every time. So talk to us about how we can learn to trust and have that courage about doing things that may be so different than how we grew up, or even getting out of our comfort zone with different people, in order
Okay.
for us to grow.
Well, I'd be happy to use me as the example with this. Or if you'd like to volunteer, by all means.
Yeah.
I'll use me here as the example. So when we show up here, we're coming from the universe and we're showing up here and we splash to this physical 3D realm. And there's laws set in place here. And you cannot diverge from it. You cannot escape it. You got to deal with it here. I was born in April, and April is all about stability, foundation. And I knew right away growing up from childhood, there was a lot of moving around. There was instability. There was a divorce. There was a separation. So that was one flag right there. Having a career, I used to bounce around a fair amount. I had no stability. I wasn't grounded. So these are the basics of this. Normally, with that type of a vibration, it was being neat and organized, being disciplined, which I had in certain areas. Loneliness on the negative side was something I had to pay attention to. The loneliness, because it invokes back to the feeling. So when people have a feeling of abandonment, it's one thing if you're on your own and you feel good with it, but it's another thing, like I said, there's a positive and a negative with things. When I felt the negative side of it, my energy sunk. And when I went down, for me, I didn't go down like everybody else. I went down 300 or 400% deeper in the mess than everybody else. So the universe operates in a thing called frequency, energy, and vibrations, with no judgment and no blame here. This is key here. I mentioned earlier on the call that every one of us were here as a soul ambassador, whereas a human soul at this. So we have all of a contract. Please be open-minded for whoever's listening with this. For some of us, when we go to work or wherever we're going, for the moms at home, wherever's going on, we all have a pass. I'll use that in the most simplistic way with this. And this soul pass, we're allowed to just go see so high. We can see things. We can feel things. We have a deeper understanding of what's going on positively. But on the same hand, energetically, what's recorded in the subconscious, this is all the stuff that was swept underneath the rug. All the bickering, all the gossiping, all the drama, all the nonsense, all the secrets from the family, all the secrets from the culture, whatever's going on in that inside voice, it's all recorded here. So we all got to be real with it. This thing literally records everything. And to go a little deeper, that when we show up here for the first 3 months, that's when the fetus is being developed. And then from 3 months onwards till we splash here, this subconscious starts recording everything from how mom's feeling. How's dad feeling? What's the environment like? So from my experience, it wasn't so healthy. 2 different cultures, 2 different backgrounds in a new country. So that was the introduction to it. Now they came here with the soul pass. Both of them came here with a massive size type soul contracts. So they were not able to deal with their own life properly, and they just decided to scrub things, not intentionally, but they had an understanding they were meant to be doing something else. And like most of us, we get caught in the loop. We're going to have a life, a family, and at one point we get stuck with the handcuffs where there's no way out of things other than to keep moving forward with it. So the soul blueprint said I was born in April, so I needed that stability, and unfortunately it wasn't there. So from the soul's part, it was my responsibility and my accountability to start cleaning everything up. Physically, if it was a missing address, the addresses, the changes, if it was the mail from this place or that place or somewhere else, anything physically. So anything that's work-related, school-related, vocationally related, my goals, my aims, was it all in a disarray? Was it compartmentalized? Was it neat and tidy? Or was it chaotic? And at one point I had to go back in there. I had to clean up the whole mess, everything. That's the physical part. Then we have a thing called the mental pillar, which is the way I was thinking about it. And the big one was the emotional garbage that I had stuffed down inside of me. And I had to take massive ownership of that at one point. And I had to energetically unplug all of it. So I mentioned we're not as a human being, but as a human soul. Born on the 5th, so I needed my freedom. Now me, I love the flying part. I did some skydiving in between. It was really good. I love to have the adventure. I love having the traveling or traveling and such. And I thought at one point, I'm just going to achieve my chief dream as a commercial pilot. And I'm going to just dismiss everything else that's going on. I'm going to get the six-figure job and do what I got to do here. And I tell you right now, the universe had something else in mind. So that 5 vibration, I needed the freedom from all of my fears, from all of my responsibilities, freedom from any of the toxicity from the family, the culture, religion, and from the initial people that I initially met there. I needed the freedom from the old ancestry of the old soul agreements where you're stuck with certain people and there was no way out of it. So I needed the freedom from all that. I needed freedom from all my fears, from all the worries, from all the anxieties, from all the stress with it. We all have that thing that back to the contrast. This feels good. This doesn't feel so good. This side of the menu feels really good. I like this. This side of the menu, it's a thank you, but no thanks. 1977, it all carries an energy and a vibration with this. Now, back with that 5, I didn't want to be the jack of all trades. I had to specialize in one area. I think for a lot of us, we take one job here, we take another job there. I'm supposed to be as a marketer, I'm meant to be getting out there, and I had no clue about any of this because it goes back to the foundation. If my foundation was rotten, if it wasn't solid, then anything that I build up on top of it, do not expect it, especially in this 5D consciousness right now. If the foundation is rotten, I tell you right now that whatever you build up on top of it, if the foundation isn't addressed with, the whole thing's going to come down, either physically, mentally, or an emotionally thing. And for those that deal with, there's an example out there that there's a tall building and there's fire coming in from the side of it. At one point, it needs to collapse because whatever was built, it's not built on a solid foundation. So I had mastered at one point with chasing that dream up. I chased it with working my tail off. I chased it with masking and working for 2, 3, 4 days straight in a row with no sleep. That was the type of line of work that I was in at the time. Financially, it paid off, but at one point, the body started to physically shut down. Mentally, I was exhausted. Emotionally, it was just like, this is crazy. And there was a lady at the time in my life, I used to drive 1,200 kilometers, maybe about 700 miles one way to see her for 5 days. And I'd race back to 700 miles back the other way here, or go back to work. And then I'd be up another 24, 48 hours until it was time to sleep. Wow. So at one point, like this stuff, I'm sharing my own life experience with this. At one point, the body can only withstand so much. Now, when I add the month in the year, my destiny was at 33.6, was how well did I express things emotionally? And I didn't say much. I just swallowed it in. I was going to bite my tongue with this. Energy is energy. If anyone studied anything from Bob Proctor to Les Brown, start researching and listening to The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murray. Phenomenal material. Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force. Joseph Boutros Agabe, The Blueprint of Your Soul. Those 3 books are instrumental. They were instrumental for me. The moment I started to express properly, this is again back from the Soul Blueprint, I had to release negative energy and whatever I felt choked about, not expressing about, whether it was ready to vomit it, and all the shit that was on my chest for many years. Whatever it is I was holding on to, I had to unplug all the mess. And I went back to personal ownership, the accountability, and the personal responsibility of it. Once I released the negative, I just started reprogramming myself for the positive. So I had the experiences of both sides. Most people do not become aware of this information until they're in their 50s, 60s, or 70s. There's other levels of growth with it. It's not simply of going to high school, going to college, and that's it. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So I got into this into my mid-30s. And the moment I took a step back and I started to unplug all the emotional mess, then I started gaining back the clarity inside of me. And back with the voice, like the way you're saying here, a voice of change. I love that.
Mm.
I wasn't expressing it in a way of feeling either choked or feeling vulnerable about it. Now there's different levels of vulnerability. Now it's sharing that this is what needs to come out. Because when people get sick, or if they have a stroke, or they have cancer, they can't really do much about it anymore. Then it's technically the soul has stepped in and has squeezed the person to start doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime when a person gets sick like that, it's the soul that's keeping them alive, but the soul still has 50% say, saying, look, while you're here, are you on course or did you get yourself way off course? And the soul put a person on their knees in a corner for 2 or 3 months to reevaluate their life. Because it's not just you and I living here, it's the soul that's keeping us alive while we're here. And unfortunately, we're losing a lot of people right now because the soul's fed up. And every lifetime that we show up here, we're all stuck doing the same thing. So with my experience, the moment I started releasing, it's the negative energy I had to cut. This is what the soul's asking for. So part of the volunteered mission showing up here is to cut and unplug the lower frequency energies. So do yourself a favor. If you're listening to music, if you're watching shows, and deep down inside you're aware of it, it's not healthy, it's not good, it has a low vibe to it, do yourself a favor and cut it immediately. And if you feel influenced by somebody, cut them immediately. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in that frequency.
It's true. You know, we're doing a study on the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Beautiful.
And, you know, it is so profound that you would say that. Yeah, because, you know, understanding that we can be in a hypnotic rhythm, which can be positive or negative. You know, it's all in how you, again, like you were saying, that side of the coin that you might find. But he has this part in the book that he says that if it's a negative hypnotic rhythm, it's like a insect that's inside a spider web. The more you move, the more tangled up you can be into this space that's negative. And you know, like you're saying things like frequency, vibration, energy, you know, this is not normal talk that we have with people. And I know I wasn't talking this way before I went through my own journey, you know. And I love what you said earlier about, you know, I was really the person that was holding myself back. You know, all the time I was distracted trying to believe I was the victim, blaming other people, my kids, my husband, but it was really me and the choices I was making. Once I was able to take accountability for that, that's where my power came from. But you know, this whole thing about energy and vibration and frequency, I wasn't saying anything about that, but I definitely resonate with it now because I now have known myself so well that I can feel where I stop and other people begin. You know, whether it's in a room, you know, where someone comes in and whether it's positive or negative, or I'm drawn to it or I'm repelled by it, you know, and I didn't have that before because I was so distracted around maybe trying to bury a lot of my thoughts and emotions that some of the entanglements I got into because I just wasn't present enough to feel that, if that makes sense.
100%. What's the expression? Pride cometh before a fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you look on, there's a map of consciousness from Dr. David Hawkins. What's the feeling underneath it? And everyone sees the pride there, whether it's going out, driving the nice car. It's an illusion. It's not real. It's real when you're able to attain it in your own peace. But if you're doing that to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm successful," that's not going to work anymore in the new consciousness. I'm saying this from the own background, from my own experience.
It's true. Well, because well, you know, because you're giving your power away. Because if that person doesn't respond the way you feel they should, based on what you were thinking, that wasn't a reality in the first place, then that is the thing that has you move into the next thing and the next thing, and you're never satisfied because it's not coming from within. You know, one of the things that just comes to mind, even with this conversation, is inspiring people versus motivating them.
Yes.
Motivation comes and goes, but if you inspire somebody, then they go within and they're like, man, I want to be that way. And it's like, whether we're in the room, whether we're having this conversation, whether it's next week, next month, they're going to be moved to continue to do the work, whether we're around or not. And, that's just the thing that I'm working on now is, I feel like I have 11 kids at home. I really don't have the space to be hand holding a lot of people around their own personal journey, because it's something nobody can do the work for you anyway. I can't go to the
There you go.
gym for you and you lose the
Yes.
weight, or you go to the gym for me and I lose the weight. It doesn't work that way,
Yes. What just came through there is the best thing we'll ever be able to
Uh-huh.
do there. The more I keep working on me, then everyone else that's around me will improve from it. As my foundation gets stronger and bigger, and as I keep up leveling, it improves everything else in my
Yes.
outside world.
Yes. So true. So, and I know we've gone over the 30 minutes. I tell you, it's like it's not enough time. But
Well,
for those that are, looking to connect with you because this is something that they're curious about, right?
yes,
Um, what advice would you give them about, um, getting started, maybe some small call to action we can give them
certainly.
that can kind of help them, take those baby steps. Yeah.
I'm gifting 20 or 25, maybe 30 of my meditations. And these meditations, they're connected with the soul, they're connected with their spiritual guides. When somebody feels stuck, whatever it is from childhood, when you start listening to the meditation, that's designed to start unplugging and giving the person the awareness of what they're stuck with. And the meditations are designed energetically to start releasing the emotional baggage that we all carry inside of us, and it's back from childhood. Once you start to drop that crap, that nonsense, it frees this up and frees the heart up. The pancreas, I think you mentioned there earlier with the pancreatic cancer, as an example, for people that are either with a loss of trust, an abuse of trust, a severity of the trust issues, either as a loss of trust in themselves, trust in the universe. If it's a fear of overanalyzing, a fear of their own gifts, the fear of failure, the fear of being successful, if it's overanalyzing, at one point you have to drop it saying it's not working anymore. If it's back with another vibration is being in one's power with this. If they're fearful, if they're feeling timid, or deep down inside they're aware that the goods are coming to them, and the moment that they're recognized from it, and it reminds them something back from childhood, where the moment they were being recognized by somebody else, and this is where the goods that were coming to them, they would self-sabotage their own success.
Mm.
So a lot of people like stuff. I want to make more money. I want to be having the fame. I want to be out in the spotlight. There's still a program that's running up here back from childhood. If it makes them feel small, or from a bigger angle, from a different perspective, how well did they deal with their karma? Did they close up all the negative loops? Did they close up was there an abuse? Was there an abuse of power, an abuse of money? Was there any sexual abuse of this or sexual manipulation? For the women, if there's anything a little lower with that, if there's any misconceptions, or if there's anything, say, with having a child and things didn't go right, then they need to go back up into here and There's no judgment, there's no blame with it. It's to unplug whatever was up here, all the turmoil up here, and then unplugging it, and you can release those feelings, whether it's guilt or shame or whatever was around it or above it, grief, loss. And when these feelings are released, it's like a person's able to breathe. They're like, I don't need this stuff anymore. It was an experience for that 30 seconds to a minute, maybe it was 5 seconds, but you don't want to take that experience and overextending it for another 20, 30, or 40, or 50 years of one's life. So you can find me through emotional, or you can find me through emotional soul healing. Or send an email, info@emotionalsoulhealing, and requesting the 3 meditations. Put in your date of birth. That way I can start pinpointing from childhood what is it you may want to take a look at and start having the awareness of it. And the meditations will start assisting others with, I need to start cleaning this up. It's not working anymore. We're no longer in an environment where we get the job for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Those days are gone. AI is rapid. There's the other part where there is a spiritual being. So you have to take the ownership of what's going on the inside. And this is the alternative of this. That's the route that I want to take and go in the spiritual realm. I'm not saying it's any better. What it is, that before I even mentioned the spiritual realm, I took ownership of everything that was going on to the best of my ability in this physical 3D world. And that means I literally had to take lock, stock, and barrel and inventory of everything that was going on, the good, the positive, the negative, and the ugly. And the moment I took ownership of this and the universe saw that, this is where my life started to change. Michelle, are you still there? Hi, Lachelle. Hi.
I tell you, yeah, you gotta love it, right? I tell you.
There we go.
But I just thank you so much. Yeah, I said you gotta love technology. It's just crazy how these things happen. But I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I really encourage those that are watching to reach out to you, because what I have found just really with having these conversations is that there's certain things that resonate with different people based on their journey, where they're at that time. And, take that chance to follow that curiosity, because it usually ends up with something really positive on the other side. I love the part that you said about, we're going to keep on making these same mistakes. It's really just insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. A lot of times we get comfortable with, that. And, or we just believe that's the only way that things are going to work out, is the way that they've always worked out.
No.
So I love all the points that you've been making. So what final word would you give to people? Because, we have been talking about something that, for me, I think it's a real conversation, because these are the things that people are struggling with, especially now during the holidays, that a lot of us, we don't want to talk about. We want to cover it up with gifts and, parties and thinking about the holidays, but it's real things that people are struggling with. So what advice or final words would you want to give to those that are listening?
There's 2 messages I'd like to give, please. I love what you're talking about there, because you're hitting home on the things that everyone's aware of. It's the elephant in the room, and people are aware of it. They just don't know how to deal with it. I'd suggest take a pen, blue pen to white paper, whatever's going on up here, empty it out, send a request for the meditations with your date of birth, and we start gifting 3 or more meditations. Take the time and spend the time with yourself, so you have a bit of an understanding of what's going on in the inside world. If the inside is never dealt with, I tell you right now, the outside's not going to change. Be kind with one another. Treat each other with respect. Be grateful for what we all have. Because I'm aware at one point, what I took for granted at one point, I'm aware now tomorrow it may not be there. Or what I took for granted at one point, somebody else with the universe, with my soul, they can take that away from me just as quickly. So it's really to be grateful and thankful for everything that's going on, even if it's the challenges, even if it's the hardships. There's a golden or a silver, there's a golden nugget or a silver lining there to learn from it. And when you up level from it and saying, I don't need this anymore, enough's enough, when you overcome it and arise over it, it's like, wow, I earned my keep with where I'm going now with this. And that should fuel anyone on the inside that's hungry, that's motivated to be the change with this. Are you still there, Lachelle?
Love that. That's
No.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, you know. Gotta love it, right? You know, you gotta have a sense of humor. I guess some of the stuff we're saying is kind of dark, so you know the humor has to come through.
Laugh or cry about it. So.
Okay, but your second point.
The second point here is. The second point here is, despite whatever age you think you're at, you're never too young to change course of this. When your inner side, when your inside voice, when your inner willpower is strong enough, you can overcome anything. I'm going to encourage you to get the right guidance, the right direction with it, and you hustle with it. And you can the life can turn around very, very quickly. My message I'd really like to get out there is, while you're physically here, please do yourself a favor and your soul a favor with having a peaceful soul closure, with closing up all the emotional loops from the family, any childhood experiences, things from the culture, from the religion. The moment you take ownership of that, if one child in every family did this worldwide, this thing would be phased and gone for good worldwide. And you cannot place that expectation on anybody else other than saying, I'm thinking about it. Maybe I need to start doing something inside of myself with this. Now that starts happening, then you can have this thing called peace, harmony, cooperation, diplomacy. And when you have the peace inside of yourself, no one can take that away from you. It's something, when you earn it, it's yours to keep. When you earn your peace, when you earn that trust, when you earn with what you're doing with it, it's something you cannot buy. You cannot just go out there and just swipe for it. It doesn't work like that. And it's attainable. It's not some wishy-washy thing. It's
that was just perfect. Yeah. I love that because a lot of these emotional loops we have, but nobody even knows those loops but us.
The moment you
that's how
identify
you
the
can
feeling,
have kids that grow up in the same household. Right.
When you identify the feeling,
Sure.
it dismantles the belief system. And I tell you, every one of us, we have libraries full of belief systems. So one feeling, when you unplug it properly, it may take out 100 or maybe 1,000 different programs that are non-supporting anymore. This is where things are going in the fifth dimension. And the women out there, I tell you right now, you're being fully supported by the universe to be the new guardians or the new angelic keepers of this physical realm called Mother Earth, Mother Gaia.
This is wonderful. Well, and I forgot to even mention that we connected on OWL, and OWL is another place that they can connect with you to get some insight and, just have a conversation. Yes.
Thank you,
So
Michelle.
we'll be sure to put your link and everything. Yes, in the comments. But thank you so much, Stefan, for
You're
being
welcome.
here this evening. And we have really enjoyed this. And I want to thank all of you for watching. And I know some of these things might be kind of hard to process, but just follow that trail of curiosity. You never know where it could lead you. And I know I'm for peace and harmony.
That's
And
it.
I didn't think that I could have peace and harmony, right? So when you learn that you can be an active participant in that, it's a game changer. So
That's it.
again, I appreciate your transparency and sharing your story. It has been wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Lachelle. Well, thank you for
So we
having me
want
here.
to thank you all for you are so You are so welcome. And we look forward to getting an update and possibly having you come back to
Awesome.
share more about some of these concepts. I know we have different times of the year that this might definitely be appropriate when we're dealing with a lot of anxiety over, different things that can be going on in the new year. So appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Lachelle. Thank you very much. And to the other lady, Anita, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, you guys have a great evening. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.